The final goodbye between two siblings who loved each other. But what if I told you that, if you actually listened to what Arya was saying and how she was saying it, you would have realized that something entirely different was going on. Goodbye and warning Jon of something. And Jon, being the dimwit that he was, probably didn't even catch it. Let's go back to the beginning, because the beginning of this story wasn't at the harbor in King's Landing. The beginning of this story was many years ago in Braavos, in a temple filled with the faces of dead men. Arya walked into the House of Black and White in Season 5, and she was still thinking like a Stark. She had her kill list. She had her feelings. She had her name. She wanted to be a weapon, but she was still full of the feelings that made weapons so bad at their job. The Faceless Men spent the next 2 years beating that out of her. Not just beating her, although there was certainly that. The Faceless Men trained her for something much worse. It was simple in concept but brutal in application. Jaqen H'ghar or the Waif would ask her questions about herself and her past. Every muscle in your face. But here is what most people miss about that training. It worked both ways. In other words, in order to learn how to lie and avoid detection, you also had to learn how to detect lies. You simply could not master one skill without mastering the other. And when Arya Stark left Braavos, she had spent years studying the art of deception in the way that humans naturally engage in deception. She had studied eye movement. She had studied posture. She had studied the way that the voice sounds when a person is telling the truth and when they are telling a lie. And she brought that skill home to Winterfell, not simply bringing up the past. She was conducting an experiment. She was studying Sansa's face. She was studying Sansa's tone. She was using the past as a tool to understand the present. She knew that Sansa had... The issue was how Sansa would react now, years later, under pressure. Would she make excuses? Would she make justifications? Would she play dumb, or would she own up? She would make excuses. She would justify. She would claim she was just a child. She would claim she had no choice. All true and all information that Arya needed to know. That information went into Arya's mental file. And it did not leave. Now, let us jump forward to Season 8, Episode 4. The battle with the Night King is over. The dead have been vanquished. Everyone has survived who needed to survive so that the story could continue. And Jon Snow, the most emotionally honest man in all of Westeros, could not keep a secret for another hour. He gathers Arya, Sansa, and Bran in the Godswood and has Bran tell them the truth. Because Jon has already told the truth twice before, once to Sam and once to Daenerys. He is Aegon Targaryen, the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. He has a stronger claim to the throne than Daenerys. Before Bran begins, Jon reminds the three siblings that they must promise not to tell another living soul about it, almost mumbling her promise. If you pay attention to that, you see what is coming next. Arya keeps her words. Sansa breaks her castle. She doesn't agonize over her decision on camera. There is no scene of her sitting alone by the fire, thinking about what she must do. She sees Tyrion, knows that he is already suspicious of Daenerys, and gives him the information that could change everything. She asks him what would happen if there was someone else, someone who had a stronger claim to the throne. Tyrion figures it out. Tyrion then tells Varys. Varys, who was very disturbed by what Daenerys was doing to King's Landing after he began to doubt Daenerys' ability to rule, begins to make contact with various lords of Westeros about Jon's claim. Daenerys discovers this and has Varys executed for treason. From this point forward, Daenerys is on a path to burn King's Landing, a city of hundreds of thousands of people. Innocent people. People who have nothing to do with what has transpired here. The series of events that led to the burning of King's Landing began the minute Sansa opened her mouth to Tyrion. Arya watched all of this unfold. She was there. She saw Daenerys snap. She was in the streets of King's Landing on the day it burned. She ran through those streets covered in ash and rubble and the screams of people who were dying because one political calculation in Winterfell turned into a catastrophe. She saw exactly what Sansa's decision cost. And she, being the skilled assassin she was, saw exactly what it was that led to it. When we arrive at the finale, the question that Arya is grappling with is not whether she still has love for Sansa. She does. The question she is grappling with is whether she can trust a person who has violated a promise to keep a family secret and whose violation of that promise has led to the deaths of thousands of people. Because, you see, when you have been trained to prioritize survival above all else, love and trust are two very different things. You can love a person but still recognize that they are a danger to you. And it's here that the farewell scene at the harbor in King's Landing takes on a very different meaning than a farewell scene. Jon has been sentenced to exile. He killed Daenerys. He did the right thing, from a moral standpoint. He saved thousands of people. But he was punished anyway. Grey Worm wanted him dead. The Unsullied wanted him dead. Sansa and Arya argued for his freedom at the Dragon Pit Council. But they knew that King Bran had to make peace with the Unsullied to stop the war. So Jon is returned and made to take the Black, which in the world of the show at this time is a polite form of banishment. He will never sit upon a throne. He will never lead anyone further south of the Wall again, and that she wishes that there had been another way. Jon, being Jon, does not blame her for this. He tells her that the daughter of Ned Stark will speak for the North and that she is the best they can ask for. He means it. He genuinely means it. That is the kind of man Jon Snow is. Arya does not say that. Arya's goodbye with Jon is brief. Jon tells Arya that she can visit him at Castle Black. Arya gives Jon a sad smile and tells him that she is not going back north. She is going west. Beyond the maps. Into the unknown. And when Jon asks where the maps end, Arya tells him that is where she is going. And then she makes a statement that the scene presents as a warning about Daenerys, but has a second level of meaning. She tells Jon that Daenerys knows who Jon is, and that Jon will always be a threat to Daenerys. She tells him that she knows a killer when she sees one. The first level of this statement is Arya telling Jon that he should kill Daenerys before Daenerys kills him. And that is exactly how most people interpret the statement. But if you think about the statement a little more, Arya has spent years honing the ability to see exactly what people are. Not what they say they are. Not what they pretend to be in front of the rest of the world. What they actually are. And she said that about Daenerys. She said that as a tactical warning. But the exact same criteria she is using to judge Daenerys, she has been using to judge everyone else in the world for years. Even Sansa. As has been noted, earlier in Season 8, when Jon was defending Daenerys against Sansa and Arya in the Godswood, Arya said to Jon, "Sansa is the smartest person I know." She was not being friendly. She was being specific. She was telling Jon exactly what category Sansa belonged in. Not the most loyal, not the most honest, the smartest. In the world of Game of Thrones, being the smartest person someone knows is not always a compliment. It is a description of the kind of people who do the things that smart people do when the stakes are high and the prize is power. So when Arya says at the harbour that she knows exactly what someone is by observing them, she is telling Jon the whole picture. She is telling him that Daenerys is a killer. She is telling him that Sansa is the smartest person she knows. And she is telling him that she is leaving. And Jon is better off going north than staying with Daenerys any time. Jon will understand the first part as advice about Daenerys. He will understand the second part as comfort about Sansa. But Arya, who is well versed in the game of faces, recognizes that sometimes the truth of a thing is not given in one sentence, but in three. This is the part of Sansa's story that makes her story interesting, not annoying. She is not wrong. Not entirely. Think about what Sansa went through. She watched her father be beheaded in front of a crowd of people because he was simply too honest, too honorable, to play the Game of Thrones well. She was used as a hostage, as a pawn, by some of the most ruthless individuals in Westeros. There was Cersei. There was Littlefinger. There was Ramsay Bolton. And all of these individuals taught Sansa one thing: sentiment gets you killed. Information is the only currency that is ever really valuable. Power is not obtained by being good. Power is obtained by knowing things that other people do not know, and by using those things at the precise moment when it counts. By the time Season 8 rolls around, all of that has sunk in for her. She knows the right questions to ask. She knows the number of grains in the storehouses. She knows the political landscape of a room the minute she walks into it. She is, as Arya pointed out to Jon in the Season 8 premiere, the smartest person Arya had ever met. But that same intelligence, that same political calculation, was what got her to break her promise. In her mind, keeping the promise to Jon was not the smart thing to do. Daenerys was becoming increasingly unstable. The North's freedom was not a guarantee. Jon had no interest in fighting for his claim to the throne. If no one knew the truth was useless. So Sansa used it. She gave it to Tyrion to carry forward. The problem was that she didn't just make a political decision. She made a unilateral decision without discussing it with Jon, without discussing it with Arya, and without keeping the promise she had made to her family just hours before. She decided that she knew better. And maybe she did. Perhaps the world was even better off for Daenerys not having been allowed to continue her reign of destruction beyond King's Landing. The argument can be made, and it's not an unreasonable one. But Arya isn't in the business of maybe. Arya is in the business of what actually happened. And what actually happened was a city was burned to the ground, Jon was sent to exile, and Sansa was awarded the throne she'd been working towards since the moment she took back Winterfell from the Boltons. You can call it a coincidence. You can call it an unfortunate side effect of doing the right thing. Arya would call it a pattern. The split of the Stark family at the end of the series, with each member going off in a different direction, is generally considered bittersweet. The family has been splintered but not destroyed. Each member has found a place where they belong. Jon has gone beyond the wall. Sansa has taken the throne. Arya has set sail for the west. But look at who chose to leave, and ask yourself why. Jon did not choose to leave. He was sent. This is not a subtle distinction. He killed Daenerys, an action that was in the best interest of every living soul in the world, and as such, he was exiled. This was the compromise that was negotiated at the Dragon Pit. Sansa and Arya argued in his favor, yes, but in the end, it was still exile from Westeros. The man who had the strongest claim to the throne of Westeros ended up living among the wildlings beyond the wall because the politics of the situation demanded it. She is leaving by choice. She has Needle by her side, the sword that Jon gave her in Season 1, Episode 2, when he saw that she was not the girl she was supposed to be. He told her all the best swords have names, and she named it herself, Needle, because Sansa had her sewing needles, and Arya had her own kind. This sword is the linchpin upon which the entire relationship turns. It was the first real thing that Jon had given her. It was the only thing that Arya had kept with her through everything. The death of her father, the years on the road, Braavos, the House of Black and White, where she had hidden it in a pile of rocks outside the temple because she could not bring herself to throw it into the canal even when she was supposed to be giving up everything that she was. Needle was the thing that Arya could not give up because it was the only thing that reminded her that she was still Arya Stark. When Arya stands in that harbor with Needle by her side and tells Jon that she is going west, she is telling him everything. She is still herself. And she is leaving because the world that Sansa is building is not a world in which Arya Stark will survive with her identity intact. Arya at Sansa's court is a constant walking audit. She can walk into a room, look at any of those nobles swearing their loyalty, and know when it is true, when it is being felt, when it is being done. That is not a comfortable position to be in at a political court. It is not a comfortable position to be in at all. A ruler does not want someone in her inner circle who can see everything as clearly as that. There are times when ruling means pretending not to see things as clearly as that. But Arya understands all of that. She leaves. Not in anger. Not in broken love. In truth. In truth about what the situation is, about what it would take for her to stay. What she is saying to him in that harbor is not one thing. It is many things stacked on top of each other, like the Faceless Men taught her to present information. She is telling him about Daenerys. She is telling him about Daenerys in ways that imply she knows exactly who Sansa is, what she is capable of. And she is standing there with Needle at her hip as a physical representation, that she is still the person that Jon knows, that he has known from the beginning, before all the titles and battles and betrayals tried to change everyone around him. Jon is going to hear it as a goodbye, as a warning about an immediate danger. That is what he is capable of hearing. That is all he is capable of understanding. Jon is an honest man in a world that does not reward honesty. His entire understanding of the world is based on people being as honest as he is. And people almost never are. So she gave him the warning in a form he could carry. Daenerys is a killer. Your sister is the smartest person I know. Go north. Go where the people around you want nothing from you except for you to be there. And Jon walked toward Castle Black, and Arya climbed aboard her ship, and the family dissolved in 3 directions. Not because the love was broken. Because the love was real enough to be honest about what each person needed, even when what they needed was to be away from the others. Jon Snow lived through 8 seasons of war, ice, fire, betrayal, and actual death. The person who made sure he walked away from it all was not a dragon and not an army. It was a girl with a small sword she named herself, who spent years learning to see through everyone, and used that skill one last time to protect the brother who gave her permission to be who she was. That is the warning that everyone failed to see. And that is because it was not presented as a warning. It was presented as a goodbye. And now you know what to look out for the next time you watch that scene. If what I just showed you has changed your perspective on that finale, then drop a comment below because I would love to hear your thoughts. And if you're new here, then subscribe because there is a lot more to come.